Have you ever felt like some of the best things in life, feeling accepted, having your work valued, maybe even just finding some inner peace were kind of out of reach?
Oh, definitely. Like
Well,
you're waiting for something external to click into place.
exactly. Like they're gifts someone else has to give you.
hmm It's a common feeling, looking outside ourselves for those keys.
Well, today we're digging into this really fascinating ancient text. It offers a completely different angle.
Oh, which one?
It's called If One Desires It, The Path to Attainment. It's actually part of a larger collection, the Akahaya Sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya.
Oh, okay. I know the one.
And what's so striking is how directly it links what we want with what we actually do.
Yeah, it's a very empowering perspective, isn't it? It gives you a sense of agency
Totally. It shifts focus from just like wishing for things.
to actually building the foundation for them yourself.
Precisely. The core message, and it comes up again and again, is basically this. If you want certain good things to happen, whether that's about your relationships or your own inner state, the path involves consistently things like ethical conduct.
Living with integrity, essentially.
Right. And also cultivating mental tranquility, engaging in focused meditation, developing wisdom, and even making time for solitude.
So it's all interconnected, not just one magic bullet, but nurturing a whole set of qualities.
Exactly. And the way the text lays it out is really clear. It uses these if one desires scenarios, like if you want to be liked or if you want to handle tough thoughts.
I'm for each desire.
It points right back to that same core set of practices: virtue, tranquility, wisdom, solitude.
Okay.
So we're going to walk through some of these scenarios, see what this ancient wisdom might offer, for life today.
Sounds good. It's almost like an old school guide to getting your inner world aligned with what you hope for externally.
Okay, let's start with something pretty universal: wanting to be liked, respected by, your peers, your community.
Sure.
In the text, it talks about fellow practitioners, monks or bhikkhus. It says, if a bhikkhu desires, may I be dear to my fellows in the holy life, liked by them, respected and held in high esteem, he should bring to perfection virtue. And then it lists the rest. Be constantly engaged in mental tranquility, not neglect jhana.
Which are those deep meditative states, right?
Right, the deep absorptions,
Yeah.
cultivate insight, and frequent solitary dwelling.
See, that's what's so interesting. The path to being like isn't about like people pleasing or managing your external image directly.
No, it's all internal focus.
Exactly. It suggests that by working on your own virtue, your own inner calm and wisdom, you naturally become the kind of person others value and respect.
It's kind of the opposite of how we often approach it, isn't it? Trying to impress or get approval first.
This is build the inner foundation, and the positive regard follows more organically. When your actions are ethical, when your mind's calm, that just comes across.
Makes sense. Okay, what about something more basic, like just having your needs met, material things?
Right? Like food, shelter, medicine in the context of the text.
Yeah, the text says, if a bhikkhu desires, may I receive robes, alms food, lodgings, and medicinal requisites in accordance with the Dhamma. Dhamma meaning, like, righteous living, he should bring to perfection virtue, and then boom, same list of practices again.
Okay, so how does that connection work? How does meditating lead to getting, say, alms food? The link feels a bit less obvious there.
Well, the implication seems to be that living ethically, cultivating that inner harmony, it sort of aligns you with a natural flow. Not in a magical way, maybe, but that living with integrity makes you worthy of support. Or perhaps it makes the community more inclined to support such a person.
So it's less about manipulating outcomes and more about embodying qualities that naturally attract support or are seen as deserving of it within that community context.
Yeah, something like that. It's about being in tune. Living a life of integrity means people trust you, they see your value, perhaps.
Right, builds a certain kind of relational capital, maybe?
And it even extends to the act of giving itself. The text goes on. If a bhikkhu desires, when I use robes, alms food, etc., received from the faithful, may their offering be of great fruit, of great benefit to the giver, he should bring to perfection virtue. Same practices.
Whoa, okay, so the practitioner's conduct actually affects the giver's benefit from the act of giving.
Apparently so. It's like a two-way street. The receiver's inner state, their diligence in practice, somehow enhances the merit or the positive impact for the person who gave the gift.
That adds a layer of responsibility for the receiver, doesn't it?
It really does. Your inner work isn't just for you. It impacts the whole exchange.
It highlights that interconnectedness again.
Definitely. Now, here's a slightly different angle. Thinking about relatives who've passed away.
Okay.
If a bhikkhu desires, when my relatives and kin who have died Recall me with believing hearts. May that be of great fruit, of great benefit to them. He should bring to perfection virtue, and so on.
So how you live your life now can actually benefit relatives who remember you after they're gone, just by them remembering you positively.
That seems to be the idea. Your virtuous life creates this positive imprint, this legacy, and that memory itself, held with faith or positive feeling, has some beneficial effect for them.
Wow. That really speaks to the lasting impact of our character beyond just our own lifespan
It's not just about achievements, but about the kind of person you were.
and how that resonates. Interesting.
Okay, let's turn inward now. Dealing with our own minds. The text asks, if a bhikkhu desires, when unwholesome thoughts connected with desire arise in me, may I not yield to them, may I overcome and dispel them, he should bring to perfection virtue.
Right. This feels very practical for everyday life. We all have thoughts pop up that we don't exactly want.
Totally.
And notice, it doesn't say the thoughts won't arise. It's about not yielding to them, overcoming them.
So the ethical foundation, the mental training, that's what gives you the strength to not get swept away by them.
Exactly. It's not about perfect suppression, which, as you said, often backfires. It's about building inner resilience. Virtue and mental discipline act like a steadying anchor.
So those impulses don't automatically translate into action?
Precisely. A mind grounded in ethics and trained in focus is just less likely to be hijacked.
And it's similar for fear, right? The text says, if a bhikkhu desires, when fearful and terrifying sights and sounds come to me, may I not be overcome by that fear and terror. May I overcome and dispel that fear and terror, he should bring to perfection virtue.
Yeah, same principle. Build the inner fortitude. You can't necessarily control what frightening things happen externally.
Impossible.
Right, but you can cultivate the inner resources through these practices to face them without being completely overwhelmed.
It's like building an inner shelter, a place of calm developed through ethical living and mental clarity.
Exactly. Inner security that isn't just dependent on everything outside being perfectly calm and safe.
Okay, now the text shifts into what feels like more advanced spiritual territory. It talks about attaining the jhanas, the meditative absorption.
Right, deep states of concentration.
It says, if a bhikkhu desires, may I enter upon and abide in the first jhana, second, third, fourth jhana, he should bring to perfection virtue. And, you guessed it, the same core practices follow.
And here it becomes super clear, doesn't it? These profound states aren't just random luck or some kind of gift.
No, they're presented as a direct result.
The direct result of diligently building that foundation. Virtue, tranquility, wisdom. Those practices create the necessary mental environment for these deeper states to actually arise.
It sounds very much like a step-by-step thing. You don't just leap into deep meditation without the groundwork.
Exactly right. Ethical living helps purify and stabilize the mind, making it ready, making it receptive for that deeper concentration.
And it keeps going. The text then describes even more advanced states, the formless attainments, the arupa jhana sphere of infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, and the condition. Same again, perfect virtue, consistent practice. It really hammers home that it's all built on the same foundation.
It shows a clear developmental path. Each stage builds on the last, and the bedrock, the non-negotiable part, is always that ethical conduct and inner cultivation.
Then we get into overcoming specific mental obstacles called fetters. The text says, if a bhikkhu desires, may I be a stream enterer. That's a key stage of awakening. By abandoning 3 fetters, personality view, doubt, and attachment to rituals, he should bring to perfection virtue.
So now we see the practices directly leading to measurable spiritual progress. Becoming a stream enterer means specific hindrances are weakened or gone.
And that happens through living this way.
Yes, the practice facilitates the insight that cuts through those fetters.
And it continues like that for the next stages, becoming a once returner, then a non-returner, each time linking it back to perfecting virtue and the core practices.
It really puts the ball in the practitioner's court, doesn't it? It's about your effort, your commitment to these practices, not waiting for lightning to strike.
Definitely emphasizes personal agency. What I found really striking, though, is that it doesn't stop there. It includes desires for what most people would call, extraordinary abilities, siddhis.
Supernormal powers, yeah.
Like, if a bhikkhu desires, may I wield the various kinds of supernormal powers, being one, become many, pass through walls, walk on water, touch the sun and moon. Pretty dramatic stuff. He should bring to perfection virtue.
Wow. So even those are tied to the same foundation.
Apparently. And the same applies to developing the divine ear, hearing distant sounds, heavenly sounds,
Right.
knowing the minds of others, discerning their thoughts and states.
Telepathy, basically.
Remembering past lives in detail across eons.
Kubanibasana Sadhyana. Yeah.
And possessing the divine eye, seeing beings passing away and being reborn according to their karma.
Tikukaku.
For all of these, the prerequisite is the same. Bring virtue to perfection, cultivate tranquility, insight, solitude.
That's actually quite profound. It suggests these aren't necessarily separate mystical pursuits, but potential, perhaps natural byproducts of a mind that has become incredibly refined and purified through the core path.
Right, like they're not the main goal, maybe, but things that can manifest when the conditions are right.
Exactly. The focus remains on the foundational path of ethics, concentration, and wisdom. These abilities might arise, but they seem secondary to the main project of liberation.
Which brings us to the final desire mentioned, the ultimate one in this tradition.
Arahantship, complete liberation.
Yes, if a bhikkhu desires, by realizing for myself with direct knowledge, the undefiled liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom, on the destruction of the taints defilements, may I enter upon and abide in it, he should bring to perfection virtue, and the rest. Same list, one last time.
And that really seals it, bringing it a full circle. Even the highest possible attainment hinges on the same fundamental groundwork. No shortcuts.
It's incredibly consistent.
It is. It drives home that core message over and over.
So, yeah, the takeaway from this whole text seems crystal clear. Doesn't matter what the desired outcome is being liked, having needs met, inner peace, overcoming fear, deep meditation, special abilities, even full enlightenment.
The answer is always the same.
Come back to the fundamentals. Ethical conduct, mental discipline, wisdom, and making space for quiet reflection.
It's such a powerful, unifying teaching. It suggests these aren't just, niche religious practices. They feel like universal principles for building a more fulfilling life, whatever your specific goals might be.
This deep dive into the Akaya Sutta, it really drives home that core idea, doesn't it? That so many things we want, they aren't just out there waiting to be given to us.
Right. They're things we can actively cultivate. Outcomes that arise from our own inner work, our own integrity.
It flips the script, really, instead of looking outward all the time.
You focus on cultivating the inner conditions. It's a shift from passive hoping to active creation.
So maybe think for a moment, how might this perspective change your approach? To whatever goals you have, personal, professional, maybe spiritual.
Are there places where focusing more intentionally on these basics, living ethically, finding mental calm, seeking understanding, maybe just finding 5 minutes of quiet?
Could actually lead to breakthroughs you weren't expecting.
It's ancient wisdom, but it feels incredibly relevant. Our inner state really does shape our outer experience in profound ways.
Absolutely. Nurture the inner world, and the outer world often starts to reflect that.
You create better soil for the things you want to grow.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. What specific desire from all the ones we talked about today resonated most with you? Was it being liked, overcoming fear, finding peace, something else?
And then thinking practically, what's maybe one small concrete step you could take, maybe even today, to start applying these principles, even in a tiny way?
Yeah, remember, it's not always about these huge, lofty goals. Think about the day-to-day, how you interact with people, how you handle your own mind, your emotions.
How you cultivate that little bit of inner peace amidst everything else. That's where this path really comes alive.